You wouldn't start pouring a slab without verifying the plans. You wouldn't frame a wall by guessing the stud spacing. Legislation is simply the blueprint for the rules you operate under, and reading it is a foundational, non-negotiable building skill. Misreading these rules carries heavy consequences. A builder who starts work without correctly interpreting the Building Act exposes themselves to stop work orders that halt a project mid-build and penalties exceeding $50,000 for serious breaches. This diagram illustrates the three-tiered hierarchy of authority. Every operating rule in Western Australia comes from one of these three specific layers. The top layer is Commonwealth law. These are federal statutes, like the Fair Work Act, that apply across the entire country and govern broad parameters like employee conditions. Directly below that is WA state law. Passed by the Parliament in Perth, this layer governs the specific mechanics of your local industry. The Building Act sits right here. When two laws disagree, there is a fixed conflict resolution rule. The higher layer permanently overrides the lower layer. Without understanding this exact chain of command, a builder cannot safely resolve regulatory conflicts on a job site. State law is split into two distinct tiers. Think of a primary act as the rigid steel skeleton. It establishes the shape and boundaries of the regulatory system. Subsidiary legislation, like the building regulations, acts as the exterior cladding. It hangs off the framework of the act to fill in the granular, operational details, such as specific permit requirements. These primary acts originate in Parliament, where state politicians draft and debate the overarching rules. Before a proposed rule can impact a building site, it moves through a strict 5-stage life cycle: bill, debate, royal assent, commencement, and enforce. At stage 3, the governor signs the document. This grants royal assent and transforms the draft bill into an actual act on paper. But an enacted law is powerless until its specific activation date arrives. Even with a signature, the text has no legal teeth until commencement. Operating off a printed rule before that exact activation date arrives exposes a builder to immediate compliance failures. Once you open an act, you need to know how to navigate its internal structure. Fortunately, every piece of WA legislation is built using the exact same template. This diagram shows the layout of a standard legislative page. The bold section headings at the top are merely signposts. They hold absolutely no legal weight. If the heading contradicts the text beneath it, the plain text wins. The substantive rules that actually dictate the law are found strictly in the definitions at the front, the main provisions in the center, and the schedules tucked at the back. Navigating these provisions requires decoding a specific shorthand. Take this reference, Section 78, subsection 1, paragraph B, subsection 2. You read this left to right as a zoom function. Section 78 identifies the broad category, while subsection 1 isolates a specific rule within it. Continuing down to paragraph B and subsection 2 pinpoints the exact line of compliance on the page. Misreading a subsection level is equivalent to misreading a stud spacing measurement. It structurally compromises the entire result. Applying ordinary English assumptions to words like owner or repair inside these provisions is a massive liability risk. The legislation defines its own terms. When a definition states that a word means something, it creates a completely closed loop. If the act says a domestic animal means a dog or a cat, any unlisted animal is legally rejected. The ordinary meaning is irrelevant. Conversely, when a definition states that a word includes something, it leaves the door wide open. This adds specific, unexpected items directly to the ordinary understanding of a word, dragging things like temporary site shelters into the same legal category as a permanent house. The Building Act uses this exact open-door language for building work. It explicitly captures tasks like emergency slab underpinning, meaning even a repair job without a permit breaches the act. Skipping the definition section strips you of your primary defense mechanism against unexpected regulatory breaches. Once you understand the definitions, you have to watch the conjunctions. These small words are the mechanical switches that dictate pass or fail conditions. This diagram shows the difference between the strict requirement of an and condition and the flexible options of an or condition. An and sequence is ruthless. Failing to meet just one parameter in the sequence nullifies the entire legal condition. When two sections of an act contradict each other, Drafters insert statutory conflict signals to tell you exactly which rule wins. The phrase "subject to" functions as an amber yield sign. It indicates that the current provision must bow to the authority of another specific section. However, the word "despite" or "notwithstanding" acts as a green light. It indicates that the current text overrides the contradictory provision entirely. Reading an isolated rule without checking its conjunctions or conflict signals provides a dangerous illusion of compliance. When ambiguities remain, the Interpretation Act 1984 serves as the primary instruction manual to resolve the confusion. It sits above all other WA laws. This framework establishes two golden rules of interpretation. Rule 1 demands that an act be read as a holistic structure. Provisions interact, meaning a rule in Section 10 might be restricted by a rule in Section 50. Rule 2 requires that when specific wording is unclear, it must be interpreted in a way that actively supports the core objective of the Act. To find that core objective, you simply read the long title at the very beginning of the document. Extracting a single sentence from an Act without understanding the document's overall structural purpose is a guaranteed path to legal error. Consolidating all of these principles yields a highly practical, repeatable 10-step pre-start routine for interpreting any piece of legislation. Step 1. Verify currency date. 2. Check commencement. 3. Scan the title for purpose. 4. Look up definitions. 5. Locate your section. 6. Read surrounding provisions. 7. Scan conjunctions. 8. Identify conflict signals. 9. Consult the Interpretation Act. 10. If unclear, get formal advice. Legislative literacy functions as a core technical competency for the modern builder. Mastering these rules provides the structural security required to build safely, profitably, and legally in Western Australia.